but I'm sure you're there.
I'm there, and I
Yes,
even have
I
the
see
camera
you.
running. I see myself with the small pictures.
Yes, right, right.
I'm Reto. I'm an entrepreneur since I was born. I was grown up in an entrepreneurial family, made my studies in California, my economics in St. Gallen and Durham Hughes, and I'm running my family business since I came back, and I'm trying to find new solutions because we are in the circus business. Nobody needs us, so you have to create value propositions that somebody's ready to pay.
Very good. Cool.
Can everybody please remember to mute themselves if you're not talking at the moment because there's an echo?
Oh, that's a good point. Thank you.
Cool. By the way, I didn't say hi before to everybody. I'm Leah. Yeah.
Great job. It's really fun. I watched all of your interactions.
Thanks. Yeah, heads up to Rob in this as well. Well, 3 more minutes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently we're live already, but you know, that's good.
Yes, sorry, we're live. We have 2 minutes before 6.
We are live?
Yep.
Yes.
Great.
So we have 2 more minutes before 6. If you want to wait a few minutes, or if you feel like you want to start, you can start.
Oh, then let's start, right? So if everybody can see us already, then I'm going to say hi again. Welcome to this first inspirational panel. Our guests here, which are plenty, I just got to know them really briefly, will be discussing the topic collaboration in time of crisis. And we're really, really happy to see that we have these guests in the house. So for you, for the participants, for the spectators, it's important to know that this is a fishbowl system, meaning that you can actively participate in this by posting questions or comments in the YouTube comments. And yeah, maybe you get chosen and included in the discussion. But first, let's welcome Diana Engertwiler, and she is going to moderate this session. She is the head of Digital Today from the Swiss-wide organization Digital Switzerland, and she is also by that one of the initiators of the whole hackathon. Diana, how are you?
I'm good, Leah. Thank you for the introduction.
So you're also at home, I see your plans and so on.
Exactly, I am home, so all good. Okay. I told myself.
Great. So I will let you introduce your guests, or I think you have something planned with them for an introduction round. And yeah, I wish you a great conversation, and I'm going to be joining in at the end again.
Perfect. Thank you, Leah. Well, thank you very much for the introduction. So as you mentioned, we're going to talk about the values, and one of those values is going to be collaboration. Like Berse an hour ago talked about how important collaboration is. And before we start, I would say again, thank you for everyone participating. It's just insane what collaboration can do. And these are the 4,600 participants, the 600 teams, the 500 mentors. It's just incredible what we can do during the time of crisis. So I'm honored to contribute with this expert panel about those values. It's not only collaboration. I think Monsieur Berset also mentioned solidarity, and we will discuss those. So just quickly, why did we choose this question? We asked you via the Blick Online, what are the biggest challenges that you face at the moment? And one recurrent topic or question was, how can we make sure that those values that we gathering now in Switzerland, like solidarity and collaboration, how can we make sure that this continues also after the crisis of Corona? So let's dive into it. Ask your questions on your right side of the YouTube channel. And we are tackling now this conversation or discussion with 4 really amazing panelists. I'm so grateful that you all made it to this panel in this short amount of time. So I would like you to introduce yourself just briefly, and also tell the spectators what is your one wish that you have for the hackathon. So I would like to kick it off with Patrick.
Thank you, Jonas. Thank you to have me here. I'm very happy to contribute to this amazing event. I'm Patrick. I'm an engineer by training. I'm an active startup investor in health technologies. And I truly hope that you come out of this with a positive attitude and solutions for the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick. So let's continue with Rob.
Yes, Dan, thank you so much. So I'm Rob, for those who don't know me. As part of this hackathon, I'm co-moderating the hackathon. So I'm a moderator, but also I'm a filmmaker, TV producer, and speaker. And I've been exploring for over a decade now how digitalization is affecting us on a human level. I'm actually producing a documentary film called Searching for Contact for over 3.5 years now on this topic. So my wish for the hackathon is that people who are connecting now in Hall of Switzerland online, that they will basically take this connection outside of the hackathon and into the physical world and continue to collaborate on that level in the future. So it's just not a one-off only.
Thank you very much, Rob. We will definitely go back to your topic, connection. And what about you, Reto? You are on mute still. Yes.
Thank you. I'm Reto Gurtner. I'm the same generation like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. So I grew up actually, and we created the very first computer in the Canton Graubünden. Was in my small business of my father. And then afterwards, I always was pretty passionate about that. And I had the chance, to make my study. And by that way, with 17, it was the first startup I started with 3 friends. The only assets we had 3 computers, because this was the way we received the money from our parents. Secondly, I studied in California. I'm a lawyer and also business administration, and I'm running my family business since I was born, more or less, because my father died pretty early. I always was passionate about that. And there are some beautiful ways for the future, but that's up to come discussion afterwards.
Perfect. And your wish for the hackathon?
Well, I wish, we are in a very special context now. We have to bring together the collective knowledge. With the collective knowledge, combining all those 1.3 kilograms of brain for a very clear purpose. It is not allowed to happen the second time what we're going through now.
Perfect. Thank you, Reto. So we move over to Anais.
Yes, thank you, Diana. And it seems like I'm truly on a panel with some very seasoned entrepreneurs here also. I only co-founded my venture 4 years ago, Stride, the Unschool for Collaborative Leadership and Social Innovation. But I've been engaging on, how collaboration can contribute to societal transformation already the past decade, especially also around the topic of climate change. Alain Berset said before, we have a health crisis, but not only that, but also an economic, societal crisis around international boundaries. And what I wish for the people tonight and throughout this whole hackathon is that they engage not from a space of fear and anxiety of all these crises, but that they engage from a space of reason and compassion and open up this creativity so they can come up with novel solutions.
Thank you, Anais. I hope those wishes are gonna become true. So before we heading into the discussion, it's really important. I mean, collaboration is such a big word, right? We can tackle that from so many sides. And I would like to focus on the topic collaboration in the psychology sense, and basically really tackling the main question on, you know, are we as human beings able to learn from this situation and also bring this collaboration to the next phase post the crisis. And I think just to put it in a connection on a example is obviously the hackathon. And the hackathon has two levels that we can look at the collaboration on B2B. There's so many companies coming together, creating this beautiful and amazing project initiative. It's really wonderful to see. I think it's unique. It's something that I have not seen yet in Switzerland. So there is one really strong collaboration, but also the general public. Now 4,600 people are now trying to find a solution for those challenges that were found, and that's just so beautiful. And yeah, so those kind of aspects we would like to discuss today. So let's dive into it. My first question goes to Rob. So basically, from a personal perspective, I'm curious, have you seen things that have changed around collaboration in your personal life compared to before Corona crisis started?
Well, you know, when you just did this little intro to the question, I was thinking about it, and there's one thought that came up, which is, this is all still new to me. Like, from an intellectual point of view, I start to only now understand what's going on. I think it's still too early to understand from an emotional point of view what is going on. And I think that I'm not the only one in this kind of place of mindset, right? So I think I still need some more time to actually assess this question and assess the experience. The same goes for the hackathon. Like, yes, it's amazing. We are thousands of people coming together. I only see and heard about 10 today. So I'm a guy who's quite result oriented. Of course, it's always about a process and a progress. But really, I'd like to see what we actually are able to come up with in a month or two. I mean, as being an entrepreneur myself and self-employed, I do see that I'm absolutely relying in terms of collaboration now on the online world, which I didn't so much before. So I have to be a co-creator of new ways of collaborating online. Which means also maybe collaborating on new products and projects online. But can I already give you a definite answer on how has it changed for me? I'm still at a very early stage of experiencing this.
Okay. What about from a business perspective, Patrick? Has this changed the whole collaboration already, or would you say it's too early to now say that?
No, this is, it started 3 weeks ago, and literally I haven't had any single meeting anymore face to face. So sitting down together with someone, and that was 80% of my work. And within 3 weeks, it's gone. It's completely out of the window. And since then, we've had brainstorming sessions. We've had, you know, all these tools. I discovered tools that I didn't know they existed. We had team meetings discussing complex financials of companies. So it's an extremely steep learning curve. It started very quickly. You were forced to do it, and see, you can't do it. And I think once the change is adopted, it's very hard to go back. So we'll see where the end of the tunnel is, and the world is going to look different. And I think a lot of change is going to go for the good.
Okay, I'm sure we're gonna come back to that. The world is gonna look different. I think that there's gonna be a good discussion around that. Is there somebody else who wants to comment on that? You know, do you see collaboration going on in your private life or business life?
I'm happy to comment on it because, you know, as many others, we immediately looked at, so how can we take something online which wasn't online before? And what we looked at is how can we take human connection online? And so what we did this week, actually, we had the Social Muscle Club online, which is a fantastic format really to train your social muscle of unconditional giving and of unconditional also accepting. And what it did to the people, I think the best, one of the best comments we got was like, I even forgot I was at home. So it was a festive environment of people truly connecting with each other and celebrating and being joyful. So I would say next to all the just business focus, and I think most of us can't see webinars anymore, to also create, you know, still recreate the space of human connection, of joyful connection, of people living life.
Anna, do you think there is is something missing though? I mean, still, I mean, you communicate more than just, you know, with the body and so on. So do you think that is missing a lot, or what is your take on that?
Yes, of course. I'm very much up for hugs and touching people and you know, really also sensing. And today when I went for a walk outside, I noticed now, even as you pass people, you notice the smell of people much more strongly than I think I used to. So I was going for a walk in the forest and there was the smell of the dog. And for one person, I could smell a smoker and another one had probably put his aftershave on. But it's all these kind of little sensory experiences, which I think are just part of being human and which you cannot recreate online.
Yeah, thank you. And Reto, you were in the mountains. We saw how beautiful it is. There's still snow, right? And so, how do you handle this whole collaboration at the moment from your perspective, from a mountain top down? How is it working there? You have, yep, on mute.
Thanks. Well, it's the last 14 days really had been like a roller coaster. At the beginning, you know, we had from the government received that we can stay open until the 14th, you know, Saturday, Sunday, and the government and the Swiss government overruled it. So at 10 o'clock Friday evening, we had the thing that we had to stop next morning. We bought in stuff for people, for about 20,000 people, you know, on the weekend. So you just had to get rid of the food because we couldn't sell it anymore. How are you going to distribute that to houses? You know, we don't have poor people. Well, we don't have, you know, people. Where are you going to distribute that? No organization, nothing. And secondly, and then you have 1,200 employees that have no work within 6 hours. So how are you going to handle that social moment, you know? How are you going to, because the only reason I'm here is not to make cash flow. The only reason is how are we going to help people? How are we going to help, you know, the humans? And with that, we just had to transform that immediately. But on the other hand, I'm responsible also for 1,200, you know, employees that have families behind it. How are I going to create the future that not going to be the same like the past, but how are we going to create value propositions, you know, and good life? Communication was crucial, and I'm very happy that we started very early with that. For me also, it changed like Patrick. It was exactly the same situation because otherwise I was 80% in meetings, you know, taking decisions or learnings or whatever it is. Now you just are in a position, wow, how are you going to do that? How are you going to communicate? Because the most important thing, whatever you have, is a good communication. And how are you going to make a good communication? this is the challenge. So we were first to learn very fast. I have now a lot of my companies, people now they're working on Teams or Zoom or Hangouts, it works. It will change. And I do believe that human values has increased by that catastrophe that we have now,
Wow,
we
Reto.
want more solidarity.
Yeah.
And that's why I just changed everything, we are ready for making tests. We are ready, to make on the app, you can make your home delivery, because in Zurich you have to wait 14 days. Here we can provide you. You can get from every restaurant we have, just doing. We had that, but we forced that, to get an engagement actually, because before you just had a mountain app, when I'm skiing, but we are providing way more informations, and we're providing a ticker and giving information, to get in contact.
Yeah.
And you start to be more focused. You start to be way more focused because you're not distracted.
Really great to see those changes, Reto, that is happening. You guys are really fast, and that's exactly collaboration can really help doing that. So what I'm also really curious in your perspectives, all of you, is, we talk about collaboration, how great collaboration is. Monsieur Berset also mentioned that. But I'm wondering what is really good collaboration, and I would like to start with Anais, because I know you're co-founder of Stride. It's an unschooling program where collaboration is really the number one guidance. And I would really love to hear from you. What do you consider as a good collaboration?
So good collaboration is a way of coming together to make diversity work, where you engage in a process of collective sense-making, and out of a space of, let's say, creativity, new ideas can emerge and something new can come up. So I would differentiate it from merely coordinating or from merely cooperating, which means you just, divide tasks, to really build on each other. And it really requires a level of capacity of listening to the other, of engaging with the other, of taking the other one seriously, taking them at an eye level, and then building on that and working together.
Thank you, Anais. And Rob, I mean, you went around the globe talking about connections and obviously also collaboration. What are your findings about what good connections or collaborations is? What is it?
I'm still in the assessment phase, but I'm actually, so this is true. I've been traveling for over 3 years in 18 countries, talking mainly about the phenomena of social media, smartphones, etc. But as a matter of fact, I'm now catching up with all of these people via Zoom calls, via Skype videos, interviewing them to see how the world has changed for them. And I just started doing that. So I just spoke to somebody in the Philippines 2 days ago. I spoke to somebody in Los Angeles and New York. And it really, I think it's very different from one to the other person, just like we are now talking 4 or 5 different people here and having different business backgrounds. So let's say an artist in New York, she's suffering, she's really scared because she's losing her job in a way, right? Somebody else who was already having a strong digital virtual platform and following is saying, this is the best time ever for me because everybody is following me online. So they can create whole movements online. So I think it's hard to generalize this, right? What I am interested in is to really, or what I think is now coming to our awareness is that what were we doing before? Right? I see a lot of questions popping up as well. Yes, we are forced into adapting and collaboration and Zoom and it works, and yes, meetings, but I dig deeper. And I'm wondering, what are we reflecting on right now? I see a lot of people understanding and grasping on a truth that they were kind of feeling, but they couldn't really put their finger on it. And now they understand, basically, fuck. Some other things are much more important than I thought. So kind of a purpose-driven mission that we might be on. Like, what is the purpose of why we are here, and how do we want to live our lives? How do we want to collaborate? Why do we want to collaborate? What is the overall goal we want to reach? Is it just to make money and be successful? How do we define that? A lot of people will really reflect on their careers because they were about to burn out. Like, was that the way that I want to live my life for the next 20 years? So these are all questions that are starting to pop up as I go and catch up with these people, which I find super interesting.
Okay, so you're in the phase of analyzing the situation right now. Patrick, I mean, I'm sure you have some examples. You're working daily with startups, and I guess within those times, for some it will be difficult, for some it's going to be great. So do you see there, you know, best practices of collaboration?
I mean, listening to Rob, one theme just popped up in my head, and I think before, you know, when you're not tied to tools, when you're just being and just a human being, you're not so aware how you collaborate and when you do and how you communicate. Because if you meet, you just meet and you just do. Now, if you use a tool, suddenly it becomes obvious that you need, you know, you need to communicate somehow. You need to get a connection somehow. So suddenly you are aware of what you're doing, and you have to get used to how you do it. So the methods of how you collaborate change. This is basically one aspect of looking at the whole thing, is that the tools, the processes, the ways you collaborate have changed drastically within days. This is a topic that goes through everything. Now, also on a different level, aside from psychology, you know, if you look at politics, for example, this very situation has brought politicians to close down, to be more nationalistic. At the US, you look at China, they're closing down. But then you look at the science community, it's the total difference. They completely start to collaborate. They have analyzed the genome of this virus. They have come up with the history of the virus, where it comes from, how it was transmitted. It's a massive, unprecedented scientific collaborative effort. So that's just human nature, you know. It just depends on how you look at it. And I believe another aspect, as I said before, is politics, psychology, and then also the topic, what you're actually doing. To go back to your question, for startups, it has changed. A very tough time, and if you're not finding way to get through this collaboration topic, organizing cash, organizing customers, organizing work, it's going to be tough.
Do you mind if I just jump in on this quickly? Because I just remembered from, you know, when we talk also about culture, which is, I hope, still a very important part of society, I've seen the most amazing things happening online between artists in terms of co-creation and collaboration, because they're suffering. I'm not going to say the most, but they're certainly suffering. And what's going on there is absolutely beautiful to see, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, so now we talked about, you know, what is the best practice, what is good collaboration, but do you think collaboration has at some point also challenges, or what do you think are the biggest challenges of collaboration? To the panel.
Well, I just jump in. I mean, I am learning, but to be honest, I miss meeting people. I truly do. It's something.
Yes. Yes, me too.
It's annoying to be stuck at home. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And I think if we don't just talk about online collaboration, but collaboration in general, I think one of the important things is also how to collaborate in an effective way. I mean, one of the, I think, most stated reasons why people don't collaborate, you know, in the true sense of the term, is because they feel it's not effective. And so to support them also with methodology, be it for decision making actually especially, but also for developing things, can be very helpful. And I believe also here at the hackathon, at least, some methodologies are being introduced also to the people on how to in a collaborative way address a problem. So I think these tools and methods become more and more important as well.
How do we get those tools out there? I mean, that's so important, making decisions. There's so many methods to do that, but I think not many people know those methods. How do we get that out there?
Can I jump in, Reto?
Sure.
I just want to go, it is no difference actually. Now it's just everything squeezed in a micro time within 14 days. What happened? I've never seen, such a dramatical change, mentally it's way more. So collaboration, we have two possibilities. Just want to say collaboration is nothing else than a coding. We are speaking in English, that's a code we learned. And so why we can learn pretty fast, human beings can adapt really fast. It was during wartime like that, it was always like that. But now we're going to go back to the real values, It's not anymore the overheated high-speed system we had, and everything was overspeed. Everything was overspeeded. And when you see through this coronavirus, what happened? 20% less world pollution. Hey, come on. And we say we can't do it. I mean, we should use our brains actually to have a clear purpose. And this means to have a shared purpose. We want to make a better world than we started with. So think about that. And one a day, we don't need all the regulations. We need the belief of the people and the touchman, how we're going to communicate. What is our purpose? What is our values? And this is a very, very cleaning moment now, I think, for human beings, to step one back and being way more focused to solve problems and not to discuss problems, solve the problems. We have now the coronavirus. We have found it out, the communication works not exactly the same, for sure not. But my experience is this: meetings are shorter with video conferences, are way shorter. You go to the point and you don't make a lot of blah blahs that you have all those paparazzis or who's all around, who also wants to make a contribution. They're gone now. They're gone. And I do believe it will not go back. All the communication tools that we have, they pop up like that. It works. It works. I also prefer, to have a hug, to be with people together, but I can't for the moment. So we have to accept that. And I prefer to be here than instead of being in Iraq or somewhere, We still have paradise here. So help those people who need it, and how we're going to get back and how we're going to get those social distance. This will be a rule. Next time when you're going to fly, for sure, you need a certificate if you want to go to China or to America. You cannot walk in like that now. This will change.
Reactions on that? Anais?
I would like to, react on some things that you said, Reto. So one thing is, like this pandemic now, of course, creates a certain coherence. And under this coherence, people now align, and the alignment that we see, or the interesting collaboration that we see, is the one that comes from kind of grassroots. So the one which is not top-down kind of instilled or coordinated, but where people come together, like in these days, or also the example that Patrick brought up, in the medicinal researchers, they're very also self-driven, or to a certain degree, to collaborate on that and to look at it together. So I think that is something super interesting. And this is definitely kind of this counter movement to what we're seeing on a state level, where boundaries are being closed. Now, what we need to be very careful of is that at this moment of time, a lot of our civil liberties are taken away. There's especially certain parts of the world, it's really draconian measures that are being taken. And where we will also need, again, this collaborative spirit and this grassroots movement, is to ask to have them back afterwards. Because as we know from history, a lot of these measures tend to stay on for a very long time. And when we ask to have to have them back. I think also this whole spirit of engaging in a collaborative way, where actually it is, people are welcome to be part of the discussion. And yes, there are a lot of methods, because that was your earlier question out there. There's a lot of more facilitators and moderators these days who, are also specialized to facilitate these processes.
Yeah, and I think that's really great that you brought that up, because that leads us to the next step, basically. And also one viewer asked a question that I really like is, I'm going to read it. Do you think that current rethinking and collaboration in the different eras is the beginning of a new era, or rather a short-term effect and forgotten after the crisis? And that's, I think, the main question that we have to ask ourselves here.
Well, what do you think?
You're asking the panel, me?
Well, I certainly hope that this is part. I was actually discussing this afternoon with someone around also leadership education, and it was also well, it's now time for a systems change. And well, yes, of course, but it can go still both ways. So for me, it's really, we now have things that are happening which were before unthinkable, from positive or kind of positive things, like grounding all the airlines, which is positive in terms of climate change, to people not being able to step out of their homes anymore, to hunger coming back as a topic due to the inability of distribution, especially if we look at the global south now. But at the same time, we have this solidarity emerging. And if I look at Switzerland and what has been done, like be it Hilf Jetzt or kind of all this Nachbarschaftshilfe, that's absolutely fantastic. And what I see is that there are many more people who want to help, at least in Switzerland, than people actually looking for help, at least right now. And this spirit, of solidarity and of willing to step up for society, I think it's really this that we want to kind of carry into our common future.
But it's exactly the point, Annie. I'm really glad you're elaborating on that. And that's the question, right? Are we able as human beings to bring that to the next step and after a post-corona crisis? Or are we going back to our comfortable life and, it was a past thing and now we're back in, doing all those things that we did before?
I mean, yeah, just quickly, it really depends. Like if I get trapped in my apartment even more than now for a few more years, I will go crazy. I will probably run into the government doors, break windows, and scream out loud like a revolutionist, So my point is that it's really hard to say, because this is such a new situation that we haven't seen for, in our generations, that we don't really, I think it's hard for us to say what this is going to do with us on a personal level, in terms of how we feel, in terms of how our minds will react to this. Now we're sitting at home and say, okay, during World War II, we had to go and fight and kill each other. And now we can sit at home on our sofas and do Zoom video calls and they work. Well, that's for now, but let's see what happens in 6 to 12 months. And how will we, right now, I feel like the Swiss government is doing a great job, but will I still trust them and like them? And the media, we're not talking about the media, but this whole thing might also be constructed because we're kind of looking in the mirror of media and that's our reality. We're not touching that point. It's a whole different discussion. But so what I want to say is that it sounds too good to say, oh yes, we're now adapting to this new way of collaborating online, and this is a wake-up call for us. We're going to be not enlightened, but at least it's a cleaning phase, and then from then on we will be social distancing because we get adapted to it because we're human beings that adapt very fast, and then we just go on and we don't have to fly anymore, and the planet will heal. I'm very skeptic, not because I'm a skeptic person, but it just, I would like to see where we are in 6 months from now.
Maybe I can jump in here as well. You know, the problem with predicting the future is that the future doesn't collaborate. So it's very hard. It's very hard. But what you can say is that generally, and as an investor, I'm also guilty of that, you overestimate short-term impact and you underestimate long-term impact. And I think this is something that is important to consider. I don't believe that tomorrow or in half a year or in a year, the world is going to look completely different. But the changes that will happen, they're here to stay. They are here to stay. And the core, the things that are being adapted en masse, they will stay and they will change for the long term and probably much more massive than we think. And what worries me here, having said that, is first of all, short-term impact for many, many people that are not able to collaborate right now because they don't have the tools is massive. There's a whole generation, a whole layer of human beings that are cut out at the moment. Not so much in Switzerland, but in many other geographies. And so this is something we have to find a solution for. How do we integrate? How do we integrate everybody if communication is more technology-based for the future?
But Patrick,
the other thing is privacy.
Patrick,
I would
you
like to
mentioned
bring in a little bit a different perspective. I'm working a lot with young people, with universities. We have all my ski teachers, snowboard ski teachers are students. Why they're coming here? What's the purpose? So I do believe we don't have, we cannot predict the future. I'm absolutely there. We have to be very agile. But what I've learned is actually you're going to have a twofold, in society. The young generation, the young kids, they're going to forget it like they forgot the Lehman crash and they forgot it, the .com crash. I all went over. This was just a financial crash. But now it's the very first time since World War that people have been, everybody affected. Even, it's a big danger out there. So I do believe we have to be ready for generations, that have kids or whatever it is. They're gonna keep the social distancing. They're gonna remember that because this is all brained in our cortex, and this reptilian cortex. And so we're gonna act on that because this is a situation we never had before. So we have to take a, why are they doing that? Younger generation, they need socialization. They want to have parties. They want to have that. This will come back faster than everybody thinks. They will not change because they had not been endangered. They have not been endangered. So it's just, they say we just have to do that because of those old people in here. I mean, when Swiss government has to take a decision in case of a shortage, the people over 85 years will not be put it on the ventilator. Hey, come on. When we have to take those ethical decisions, that's not the future. So we have to become way more, instead of keeping the state is doing that for us, we as human beings have in collaboration, in working together, it makes more fun and whatever it is, working in teams. And so this is the power of the future. And it's not anymore Wall Street in the future. Even if my pension fund, all your pension funds are in there, we're going to create way more for regionality and the globalization. It will have a lot of platforms and living spaces. And we're going to use that what we learn, the good part of that, of the conferences, we're going to use that way more. I'm going to fly way more, way less. And so this is a contribution to the environment, because sometimes it comes me out, environment is striking back. The first,
so I would like to,
just to say, just think about that. We have climate conferences. When the first climate conferences was set up? When? In 74. What has changed? Nothing. We have to take in the hands, not giving the responsibility to the government and to all that, because the virus is, he doesn't care where the border is and what kind of color of politics you have. We have to resolve this, the problems we have. This is our challenge, and not the legal structure.
Exactly the grassroots that Anais mentioned, right? Anais.
Exactly. I very much would support that point, that what I also, and I would give it a bit more of an optimistic outlook, because what I see will likely stay as this empowerment of grassroots movement again, of people having undergone an experience that they can do something, that they can take, let's say, entrepreneurial action, bring something into the world, take the responsibility, and be very strong also together. At the same time, and this is maybe the downside, what will also stay is what Patrick mentioned, like whatever now we give up on data privacy, we will never be able to revert that.
Yeah, data privacy, I think we can talk a lot about that. Patrick and Rachel, I think that was a discussion also before. Rob, did you want to say something?
Oh yeah, no, I just, you know, if I look at my notes here for the panel, I wrote down cybercrime and trust, because now we're talking about how great this online world works. Oh my God, there's going to be a lot of problems coming up. I don't want to be negative, but these things will become a matter to address, and cybercrime and trustworthy sources, and these things will become even more important. And we observed already ethical aspects of the online world in the last 5 years rising to the top of discussions about digitalization. So you can imagine what's going to be happening in the next 5 years if we are really making this tremendous shift we're making right now into the digital world. So yeah.
Right. Thank you. So we have only a few minutes left, about 2 minutes. What I would like to hear from each of you is, you know, now that the hackers, they're working on those challenges, what do you want to give to them, or what advice, or what do you want to give to them during those, you know, this weekend? Is there something that you want to say to them?
I'd like to start.
All right, Rob, go ahead.
Have as much fun as possible.
Good. That's a very clear wish. Thank you, Rob. I'm sure they will. And hopefully, let's think. Yeah. Who else?
Have fun and tackle the tough problems. They're most fun.
Go for the tough problems. Okay. Thank you, Patrick.
Yes, and take these moments in, remember them, and going forward, see that you do something like that again, tackling the greatest societal challenges.
Perfect. So not only now, do it that in the future. Reto.
Take that. Where is your passion? You are able to change the world if you have the passion to do it, and if you are convinced. And look to find, like in a religion, a lot of people that help you. Then we're going to change the world. So it's in there with the idea. And I wish you a lot of success. And I'm convinced some really brilliant ideas will come out of that.
Wow. Change the world with passion. So I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you out there, you also enjoyed to listen in to those fabulous panelists. We're sure that, it sounds like there will be some changes in the future that we will keep. And now I wish you all the luck and again, passion, do that also in the future. And have fun making your solutions. And I thank also the panelists to be, you know, they were here and super engaged. So thank you very much. And right, so we're finished.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Diana, for
guys.
wonderful moderation.
Yes, thank you guys.
Bye-bye.